Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd, fa bismillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. All praise and thanks are due to Allah, and peace and blessings be upon His Messenger. Proceeding to the video, we begin with Allah's name, so peace be upon you, welcome and greetings. This is the first part for the recognition and pronunciation of the Arabic alphabet. About 28, some people say 29, but I'll incorporate it into the first letter, inshallah. So there will be, inshallah, no loss of information in these videos. And so what I want to try to say first off is try to copy my accent as best as you can. So if I say something like try not to say eh. So if I say you don't say and you don't say aw, but you try to copy it as best as you can by saying And next part, we'll just jump straight into the video, or the letters right now. So here's the first letter, and the name of this letter is Aleph. So here's the shape, and here's the transliteration. Transliteration means if something is in a different language other than English, we're going to try to put the pronunciation guide and type it out in English. So that's why I typed the name of the letter in the pronunciation, as to try to keep the phonetics a little bit. So the name of this letter is Aleph. And one more thing is the whole reason I said 28 letters is because you could also have this shape right here, which is what we call the Hamza, but it makes the same noise as the Aleph. Again, it makes the same noise as Aleph. So what you might be seeing sometimes is a Hamza on top of the Aleph, which is the same thing as the Aleph. It makes the same noise, or at the bottom, and we can get into why later. All I'm trying to say now is that I incorporate the Hamza with the Aleph because they make the same noise. So remember, this kind of makes the same noise as Aleph, and you'll understand how in a few videos, inshallah. So we'll go to the next letter now, which is Ba. And the good way to try to remember this letter is by noticing that, first off, you have this boat shape right here, and then you have one dot at the bottom. So just try to remember one dot at the bottom is Ba. Ba. One more time, Ba. Next letter, because the tips, I'm trying to give them to you so they help you, because this shape is the same as the other shape, except you have two dots at the top. So you can either try to remember two or top. So that way you can remember this T, right? So, but the way to say this T is da. So what you want to do is try to put the tip of your tongue on the point where, if you're at the top row of your mouth, the front two teeth, where your teeth touch your gums, you want to put your tongue right around there. And then when you do that, you want to let the bottom of your tongue, just a little bit of the bottom, touch the back of the teeth and say da. And it's pretty much that simple. We're not saying ta either and other things like that. We're just saying da. Next letter, same shape, just three dots at the bottom or the top, and the reason we say three is that, well, essentially that's why, because there's three dots, but I'm emphasizing it because that'll help you try to say this letter, because when we say three, your tongue goes at the bottom of it touches the bottom of your front two teeth. Three. So that's what you want to do for tha, because the name of this letter is tha. So if you can't catch it on audio, here's the diagram again. What you want to do, so here's the top row of your mouth, the top row of your teeth again. Here's the front two teeth right here. And again, this is the side view. So what you're going to try to do is put about 1/4 inch of your tongue outside of your mouth, or touching outside your teeth. So right around here, where the box is boxing or highlighting, you want to put that part of your tongue, and you want to touch it to the top of your mouth. So something like that. So just say that this box is your tongue, for example. So that much of your tongue comes out, and your teeth is basically, the tongue is actually touching the teeth, and the bottom set of your teeth are basically like this diagram. You're not doing anything with them. The bottom of your tongue should not touch the bottom of your teeth. So what you want to do is just let the top part of your tongue touch the bottom part of the top row of your teeth, like the diagram shows, and just say and blow out air. Tha. One more time, tha. And that's pretty much it for that. So now we'll go to the new shape, next letter, and the name of this letter is Jeem. So if you say in English someone's wearing jeans, that's basically what the J is like, j. Try not to say j and y, because the proper way to say this again is j, jeem. And when we say in English jeans, we make that G sound like a little heavy. So if you recall back to the previous video, heavy and light. So we want to make this letter light because this letter is not heavy. This letter is jeem, jeem. And what I mean by light, we're not saying jeem, we're saying jeem, eem, not oim, eem. That's the difference between light and heavy. So jeem, jeem. Next letter, we're gonna go straight into it, and it's the same shape except it has no dots, and I'm gonna put a hyphen next to the H. The reason I'm gonna put the hyphen is to illustrate something here. If we say right here, this extra part of the box is the throat, then the letter comes from the middle of the throat, or the place of origin of this letter comes from the middle of the throat. So what I mean by that is that you should feel the air come out from here. So the way to say this letter is ha, ha, ha. So a good way to try to practice this is sit up straight. Look up as much as you can without moving your back. All you want to do is just look up with your neck. Open your mouth as wide as you can and just blow out. Blow out air or exhale from your mouth. And remember, your mouth is as wide as it can open. So when you hear that noise, that's you should feel where the letter is coming from. So what you're gonna have to try to do now, bi'idhnillah, is try to master that noise and try to make that noise come out without doing this exercise and trying to help it come out. And you're gonna have to try to calm down the noise. So instead of saying ha, we're now just gonna tone it down and say ha, ha, ha. So it sounds a lot softer. So that's what we're going for. The reason for the exercise is to try to help you originate the letter properly from your throat. And once you know how the sound is how it properly sounds, the letter, then you should be able to tone it down, because it's better to know something in excess and then tone it down than to not know it that well necessarily at the beginning, and you might screw up later, which is something we don't want to do. Inshallah. So next letter is the last one for this video part, and that's the shape. So what we're gonna do now is put the heavy markings, and this got distorted, but it's okay, inshallah. So first part, the A's, the overhead line, and the reason they're so big is because they're heavy. So now again, remember that when you see these big A's, that shows that the letter is heavy. And here's the shape of the letter, and notice that it has a dot on the top of its head. So this KH noise, this is what it's going to sound like. So the name of the letter is kha, kha, kha. So a good way to try to help you think of it, and please refer to Brother Wisam's videos, mashallah, he does a great job explaining this stuff. You have the dot on the top of the head. So when you have something on your head, you're going to scratch your head. So when you see this letter, try to think of scratching. So when I say scratching, what you want to do is scratch your throat. So when you try to scratch your throat with the throat, you're going to hear something like So one pointed note, try not to overemphasize to the point where you sound like right? Because when you go to that point, there's no need to overly emphasize this letter, because it's not something necessarily that new. Because many people have heard kind of this letter from, if you have any sort of Middle Eastern friend or any other religion or any other cultural friend that's from a different part of the world, they all have their different languages, so you might have kind of come across this one. The reason I emphasize how so much was because that letter, it just sounds like H. It doesn't make a difference. But again, Arabic is phonetic. So try to just say kha, and don't say ha either. Ha, ha, ha. You're going to say kha. So it's like a light scratch, and you add an aw sound. We're not going to say kha, kha. We're going to say kha because this letter is heavy. Kha, kha, kha. So that's the last letter for this video part, and we'll start off in the 8th letter in the next part, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.